I'm back. I hope you liked that welcome back sequence, but let's cut to the chase. This is a tomato seed. And a flavorless tomato at the store costs more lettuce than I'm willing to pay for it. That's just one of the many reasons that I and so many others are choosing to grow their own vegetables from seed. The question is, how do I turn a tiny seed into a plant that's worth more than 1,000 times its initial cost? It's not as difficult as most people think, but a lot of people stump their little plants before they even have a chance. I've been growing from seed for 8 years, and today I'm gonna let you in on 10 common mistakes people make growing from seed and what you can do to avoid them. Mistake number 1 is one of the most critical things when it comes to germinating seeds. I think that a lot of growers, especially beginners, don't realize the utter importance of keeping your seeds at the right temperature when you're germinating them. Too cold and your seeds will rot in the soil before they have a chance to germinate. Too hot and chefs will be proud of you because you'll cook your seeds. Every type of seed has an optimal germination temperature, so you should definitely look into this before you start sprouting your seeds. For example, tomatoes sprout best at around 85 degrees Fahrenheit, whereas lettuce germinates best at 65 degrees Fahrenheit. So you might be wondering, Lucas, what can I do to get my soil temperature perfect for germinating seeds? Well, I'm glad you asked. I use a few things. One is a heat mat. This is a fairly inexpensive heat mat I bought at my local garden shop. It was about 25 bucks and I've had it for several years now. Putting a heat mat under your seed starting containers will raise the temperature to the desired level. So in my case, I grow mainly tomatoes and peppers, so I like to keep it around 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Another thing I use is this little thermometer. It's something you can buy at a pet store. It's actually meant for putting inside of a lizard's enclosure to ensure the temperature is perfect for that lizard. I use it particularly to measure soil temp. I've found that my heat mat in particular gets the soil temperature to around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, but I like to take it up to 85 because that's the ideal temp for pepper and tomato germination. So what I do to achieve this is I just put my grow light on, and that just provides a little extra heat. Mistake number 2 is not hitting the like button. Please go hit it right now so that you don't want to make this mistake. Just trust me on this. Seriously though, mistake number 2 is not being a fan of fans. I don't care if you live in the Sahara Desert or Antarctica. Fans are your new best friend, and here's why. You see, when you're growing seedlings indoors, they're in this little sheltered environment, and you need to toughen them up because that world out there, it's pretty darn harsh, and it's gonna beat them to the ground if they're not prepared. That's why I strengthened my seedlings early on using a fan. Now this can be any old fan, just a cheap fan you find at Walmart or whatever. Even a dollar store fan would probably work. Just have it plugged in during the day and going through your seedlings so that it'll really toughen up those stems and force those roots to grow. Mistake numero 3 is not using the appropriate growing medium. When you're growing seedlings, don't use that heavy soil you got outside. You want to use a light, fluffy, airy mix that's going to allow your tiny seedling roots to really get down there and absorb the water they need to survive. I use potting mix that's specially formulated for growing seedlings from my local big box store. A lot of people go out and they think, I'm starting seeds, so I gotta use seed starting mix, right? Wrong. The reason I don't recommend using seed starting mix is because it's generally a little overpriced for the amount you get. I find that just using regular potting soil works perfectly fine for me. There's a few things I look for when I pick out a potting mix. 1, it has to be light and airy. And 2, it has to contain a bit of fertilizer already in it. This is because seedlings are relatively delicate and I don't want to mess around with fertilizer that could potentially burn them. I thought I'd change locations for mistake number 4 because, well, I'm bored of the other location, and also this printer seems lonely, so I thought I'd give it a bit of company. Many people find themselves growing very spindly, leggy seedlings that will probably never recover, and this is very sad for me to see. What you need to do is get yourself a good grow light. I have a Fluorolight fluorescent grow light. They don't make the same model anymore. They actually have a new model now that is LED. You don't need to get that model. It's pretty expensive. The point is, there are so many great grow lights on the market today. LED technology is really increasing, so it's becoming extremely affordable to buy these grow lights. So I highly recommend you get yourself a grow light. What this is gonna do is it's going to ensure that your seedlings are always getting the right amount of light that they need. I like to keep my grow light about 1/2 inch from the tops of the seedlings. I find that this always works well for me, but different grow lights, especially LEDs, are gonna have different height requirements. So I suggest you figure out what's the correct height for your specific grow light.
But Lucas, how long do I have to keep them on for?
That is a great question, and I will hopefully provide a great answer to you. For me, I think that 1/2 a day is great for seedlings. I personally keep mine on for about 12 hours from 7 in the morning to 9 at night. And in order to do this, I use a timer. A lot of people use timers for Christmas lights outside, but they also work very well for grow lights. And I highly recommend you get one if you do not have one. This is gonna make your life so much easier because your lights are gonna turn on automatically and shut off automatically every single day. Mistake number 5 is pretty much the cardinal sin of gardening, and that is over or underwatering. Over and underwatering seedlings is more common than a penguin sliding on its belly down a hill of ice and snow. Everybody knows that plants need water, at least they should. Even though they know this, a lot of people still end up getting it wrong. Why? Because they weren't taught how to water in school. No, that's not the real reason. For real though, I mean, it's kind of difficult to tell if your plants need water, right? They don't tell you that they're thirsty. So how do you know when to water and how much to water? Well, I'm about to tell you. First of all, there's 2 basic methods to watering your seedlings. Method 1 is the simplest, where you just pour water onto the top of the soil and let it soak down. And the second method is bottom watering, which is something that's extremely popular on YouTube. I use each of these methods, but for different purposes. I use bottom watering for trays that have many cells in them. This way, the soil in each cell wicks up the water, and I know that I'm not missing any cells. When it comes to larger containers like cups and pots, I usually just water each container individually. This is because I found that bottom watering these types of containers, you tend to get kind of a pool of water in the bottom inch or so of the cup. So I find that overhead watering is the best method. Best method to use in this case. When it comes to watering, I'm kind of a thug. Basically what I do is I just let the soil kind of dry out. Not fully, it still needs a bit of moisture in it. You don't want to completely dry out your seedlings. How I know that it's dry is I lift the tray, and if it's light, it means it's pretty dry. If it's heavy, it means it's full of moisture. So I literally just walk up to my tray, pick it up. Is it light? Yes, it's light. Okay, now I water. If it's heavy, I don't do a thing. And this leads me right into the next mistake. Mistake number 6 is doing too much. A lot of gardeners get really excited about growing from seed. It's the beginning of a new season and you want to make sure your plants get off to the best possible start. So you do everything in your power to make sure that your plants are healthy and growing well. It's great to be proactive, don't get me wrong, but many gardeners go overboard and they overwater, over-fertilize, and just overcare for their plants. This is something that I struggle with as well, but some tough love is really going to ensure that your plants are healthy and produce a huge harvest for you in the future. Get these dirty socks out of here. Mistake number 7, not planting deep enough. This mistake applies specifically to tomato plants. You see, tomato plants can develop roots along their stem. Anyone who's grown tomatoes before knows this, and it's something that I think a lot of people don't take advantage of. A lot of people might say, this is just crazy, why would I do this? Like I said before, tomatoes can develop roots along their stems. So if you bury the stem, you're gonna end up getting more roots and a healthier, more robust, and productive plant in the long run. Mistake number 8, you're in my bubble. No, you're not actually in my bubble. That's just kind of the headline of the mistake. Have you ever been in a crowded elevator or a cramped bus? Well, if you haven't, take my word for it. It's not pleasant. Now, seedlings aren't claustrophobic as far as I know, but still, you should give them good space. Well, I only have 1 grow light, so I'm gonna cram all my plants together. Don't. Just don't. Don't do it. Here's what I recommend you do instead. If you only have limited grow light space, something that I did last year that I think actually works really well, I swap my plants every 12 hours. So I'd have 2 trays under my grow light for 12 hours, and then I'd swap them out and have 2 other trays under my grow light for the next 12 hours. This may seem very time consuming, but really it only takes a couple extra minutes each day, and I get a lot more plants in a given area. Mistake number 9 is not cooling it down after your seeds germinate. Temperature is very important for germination, as I mentioned earlier, but once your seeds start sprouting, it's important that you remove them from the heat source. What happens if you keep your newly spreaded seedlings on the heat for too long is they're going to start stretching out and getting spindly and weak. And this is not what you want. So you want to remove them from the heating mat or whatever source of heat you have them on and grow them in a little cooler of an environment. Now, when I say cool, I don't mean freezing like out here outside my house. What I mean is just stop providing heat. If you have your seedlings growing in the basement like me where it's a little cooler, that's going to be great for your seedlings. It's going to really make them stronger and tougher, and they're going to produce more in the long run. This thing was just frozen solid. Mistake number 10 is planting your seeds too deep. If you plant your seeds too deep, chances are they're probably going to rot underneath the soil because they've got too much soil on top of them. Once they start sprouting, they just can't get out of the soil. They can't break out. This is on the list of one of the most common causes of germination failure. Your seeds rot before they have a chance to sprout. Planting your seeds near the surface of the soil also has the added benefit of you being able to see your seeds sprout. So as soon as they start to sprout, you'll see a bit of action happening on the soil. And that is a really great way to gauge whether you've been successful with your germination method. All right, so that's it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you learned something new. I really hope you guys get out there and grow from seed because it's such a rewarding experience and you can save a lot of money doing this. And also, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Lucas Grows Best, out.